After this brief break, we will continue now with the program that we have for the morning. And under this context, the export or the process of export is very key for the meat production. In the last years, we have expressed to the director our eternal thanks because it has been ProChile, the institute that for many, many years trusted in our meat chain, and they have more relationship with the livestock, but oriented to encourage the exporting offer. And this has been hugely valuable to us because we were allowed to attract all of the experts, which are showing the results in 2 or 3 years. We have had very great results. So very great thanks to this institute that we value very much. Today, the director of ProChile is with us, Lorena Sepúlveda. She is an agronomist engineer. She has a specialization in international marketing and trading policies. She has been strongly linked with the design and implementation of public policies when we talk about promoting and exporting and services, the internationalization of the Chilean companies. She has been the national director, and she has been the director of strategic development. This national director of ProChile will talk about the high opportunities we have. We're going to leave you now with Lorena Sepúlveda, who is going to talk about a welcome greeting and also give a very short summary of the market opportunities and the evolution of the Chilean bovine meat export process. Thank you so much, Veronica, for the invitation for ProChile. It's an honor to work with you. And during this meat days of 2021, after the amount of years that this fair has and they have been able to realize or to carry out, and also the main issue which has to do with the sustainable cattle production for the world. We think that from ProChile, this is the best way to continue being competitive, not only in the national market, but also in the international markets. A big, strong greeting of all of the authorities who are present, those who are able to, from the Ministry of SAGO, and the president of Corpaña, and the presidents that are coming from the different milk and meat consortiums, which make part of this first panel, of the first part of this virtual fair. ProChile is an entity from the government. It has 47 years now working supporting in a very decisive way in developing our national exports. We think that this development of the concept of sustainable models of each one from the industry allows the country to grow and to give the positive impact regarding employment, the economic development, and to be able to cover all of the global tendencies that this pandemic has imposed on us, and it has punished us quite a lot, and it's been very hard for many of us. But on the other hand, it presents a lot of good opportunities, which obligates us to challenge ourselves, to reinvent ourselves, to continue forward. So from this point of view, you can always count on ProChile as a reliable partner and a friend on this internationalization road. I would like to share 3 different aspects. Let's start with the next slide. The first, we are going to review quickly what has happened with our exports of the red meats. The second, we're going to see a little bit what are the tendencies of the international markets. It's one of the main work that we have done with ProChile. And the third is how Chile can support the industry, and what are some of the challenges that we can see from ProChile to continue walking along this road that I have commented, that the president commented on in his previous presentation, which have had very good effects on the meat production. And this is what we want to do, is to have a virtuous bond. Let's go with the next slide, which has to do with the exports. The exports of meat are inserted in from the meat to the world. Chile has been very important in the fresh fruits and the salmon and the wine. And today our exports and this kind of product has a very important role. It had 16 in 2020, but in the first 5 months of 2021, we have already been over 9% of the exports during the same time of the previous year. So there are some sectors would have very interesting projections so we can continue growing under this context. This growth route has not been far away from these sectors, which bring us together in this conversation space. If you can see on the slide, we can see how the exports, not only the amount, but also the volume has been growing in the last 2 or 3 years. And you can see the previous tendency where you can see these exports have arrived $100 million in all of the products which are coming from the meat area. And also we can see the amount of tons have also increased, going around to 26,000 tons in these products. We can also see that for the last 4 or 5 years, this is a tendency that we want to continue, and we can see how that the international trading has recovered, and this we can continue growing. Also, in your graph that you see on the side, what has happened? We have had a very important displacement and emerging, which is China. China today has captured 77% of our exports, and it has allowed us to grow in a very important way in the exports of this kind. In the next slide, we will be able to see what is happening with the other part of the red meat, which has to do with the bovine, where we can see an important increase, maybe not so much, but as much the growth, but also how it has exported. In the volume of these exports, even though they are small in comparison to the other, but has also grown. And here we can see it has an important displacement in the destination market, where before the European Union had a very important role for the destiny of these kind of products. But in the last years, China has also emerged as a new buyer and as a new bridge that absorbs our offers. So that is why in the next slide, it is very important what is occurring with China in this area. The most important thing is that China was the main importer of the world of this kind of meat for 2019. This ranking was in the United States, but it was replaced by China because of the huge national demand. This implies an amount of 17% of the total production. In 2020, the imports of frozen meat increased to 60%. I think this is something very important if we look at how we can dimension this market and how it's growing. The second thing I want to mention that it is a market which is very important to mention, and it has a higher consumer per capita in the world is of all of the meats is around 43 kilograms per year, and China has consumed of 61.8 kilograms, and 13% has to do with the meats that bring us together today. At the same time, what is happening in the last time is China has emerged as a new consumer, which is very associated with the Zeta generation, with the Z generation. It has to do with the electronics, the paying with the cell phones, and a consumer who is very sensitive to the social networks. This also gives us an opportunity as we begin doing a good job, this market to continue growing in our exports. We wanted to do a Zoom because China clearly has had a very important role and will continue to do so as a demand for our offer in our exports. In the next slide, I would like to share with you the tendencies, more transversal, of what is occurring in the international markets. When you are looking at what is going on, obviously the pandemic, even though we see this tendency that is going on, the pandemic put a very strong emphasis on the need of continue working with the challenges of traceability and food safety. This is here to stay. Also, when we talk about the sustainability, these are concepts that we need to introduce in our work models and our business models, and the consumer today is demanding it. So if we want to be competitive, we need to continue working strongly in all of these traceability aspects and food safety, good environmental and social practices. Today, as you know it very well, everything that is being linked with the animal welfare is also sensed to be able to continue working and continue being competitive. On the other hand, the sustainability, or I said, Sergio gave it in his presentation, or sustainability is something that will never leave us. Every day, the environmental and social aspects with our business is vital to be able to have a model, a big, good business model for the consumer who's more aware and wants to be more responsible and regarding what we are impacting on the climate change. And a very important tendency is what is occurring in Europe. The strategy of what is being from the field to our table has to be more sustainable, and this has to reduce the greenhouse gases, to accelerate the transition, make it more organic food, which has a very strong potential here. We need to have a transparent and traceable product and all of the impact of the food loss in this area. So therefore, it is very important that this space is that we need to have very clear on our radar when we want to continue growing and we want to continue conquering more international markets. The responsibility that we've already seen of the animal welfare is a duty that we have. When we talk about the social also, is advancing with regulations in the companies and also the human rights. In Germany today, it's making a law regarding this. So these are always issues that we need to continue reviewing and incorporating in a more active way in the way that we are producing. And as we continue, we want to internationalize ourselves. It's also important to communicate the sustainable attributes that we have. It's not enough to be sustainable, and if we don't communicate this to our stakeholders, to the people who purchase our products, and throughout the whole chain value, and we need to communicate it through the certifications that exists and with a campaign, which is very important and very well coordinated. The next slide, please. Under this framework, what we have done is ProChile. ProChile is a partner so that you can continue advancing in your exporting process. First of all, tell you that ProChile has a very important network of 56 commercial offices around the world that work as an antenna of intelligence and contacts for anyone who wants to export. Not only that, we also have a network, but we also have 60 regional offices that give us the areas and be close to our customers and to work with all of the productive change with the producers, with the traders, with the people who are working in this. We think that this integrated outlook would allow us to improve the competition. There are also three big blocks and tools that we use to support you. One is we have intelligence of the markets, training and the exporting process, and also how we can export. When we talk about promoting actions like the fairs that we were able to do, but we're also doing a very important encounters so that you can continue with your contacts, generate contacts with a very strong potential of people who will buy your products. Also a space which will give us more competitive is to continue articulating with the public and private institutions, because this is a very strong work with the public and private entities so that we can continue with the collaboration interinstitutional, so that we, with CODEPA, with SAC, and many other, all of these united so that we can push this cart in the same direction. Finally, these are greetings. These are very brief words, but just I wanted to leave with you some challenges that we were interested from ProChile to contribute with in this idea of sustainability. And the second is that we need to continue working with the advances toward a sectorial brand. If you see the next slide, you can see all of the challenges. There they are. We need to continue with everything that has an associativity. This is a value that we need to continue working with, having trust in each one of these links to be able to come and be more effective to the interest markets. The second is to highlight the origin of the product. Chile has a lot of characteristics that we need to make known that are very, very important so that we can be more competitive in the international market. We don't have to have a volume, but a more niche market where we can highlight all of the qualities that we have so we can be more competitive in the international markets. The third is to continue responding to this huge effort of traceability and food safety that we have. And the fourth is to, I think that here this is something that we can work on to be able to generate a sectorial brand, to be able to highlight these attributes, to unite the industry and to work together and to position the red meat of Chile and the destination markets. This is a challenge that we need to do. And we are very enthusiastic about this to continue talking about this. Finally, I want to share a video with you regarding the meat industry, the white meat and the red meat, which allows us also to position ourselves in the key markets, and we can continue working together. So I'm going to ask the organizers if they can please put this video.
La industria chilena de la carne asegura un alimento de confianza y calidad para el consumidor, siendo hoy en su totalidad el cuarto sector exportador de alimentos de Chile. Fortalecer la calidad del producto final, cumpliendo los estándares más altos de sanidad, inocuidad y bioseguridad, es un trabajo constante en todo el proceso de producción en una cadena con 100% de trazabilidad. El sector ha trabajado para diversificar el consumidor final, apuntando a distintos nichos de mercado con diferentes certificaciones que habilitan a las plantas e industrias para exportar a los más exigentes mercados internacionales, incluyendo la Unión Europea, Asia, Norteamérica, Comunidad del Caribe y América Latina. Hoy existe un trabajo constante entre el sector privado y las comunidades adyacentes para mantener relaciones sustentables con el medio ambiente y su entorno bajo el concepto de economía circular. Esto implica también una preocupación por el bienestar animal de vacunos, cerdos, aves y ovinos. La suma de todos estos atributos permiten llegar hoy a las mesas de los más exigentes consumidores en el mundo con carnes de cerdo, pollo, pavo, vacuno y cordero, sanos, sabrosos y versátiles.
Thank you so much for dedicating this minute of seeing the video. I think that this is the route that we need to follow to continue building, and the invitation is to continue working together because Pro Chile works for and with you. A strong hug for each one of you.